Hello, 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 beautiful kings and queens. Hello. Hello. Thank you all for tuning in today on the Mother Earth Show. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Hi, beautiful people. Hello. 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 Hi, beautiful people. Hello. Thank you for tuning
Hey,
in. Hey,
there she is.
King. Hi.
What's going on, woman? How you be? You good?
I'm doing good. How
I'm
are you?
good, Queen.
Good,
Good.
good,
Blessing kicking out as
King.
usual.
I'm so super excited to be interviewing you.
Oh man,
Yes,
I'm double excited.
it's such an honor.
Same here.
It's such an honor. Like you, to me, you remind me of Quincy Jones. Like you're in that category. So
Wow.
it just
Wow.
it means a lot to me to be sitting here interviewing you because you don't
Wow.
understand how much you've done for the entertainment, for the music culture. It's just that you man, you're legendary. So
Wow.
it's an honor to be interviewing you. So how's your day been, King?
My day has been excellent. Busybody as usual because I'm preparing to go to Chicago to hang with my big brother's New Kids on the Block for their BlockCon series they
Yay!
got this weekend with all the other blockheads. So I've been running and just getting stuff together because right after I leave Chicago, then I'm going to Minneapolis because it's the celebration of Prince Week. So I'm going to be jamming with a
Yes.
couple of my musician buddies and see some of the other fans, me, Jelly Bean Johnson of the time, Monty Moore, all the Minneapolis architects. So I've been running around like crazy today, but it's always a good kind of crazy, though.
Yes, yes. You stay busy. You stay busy. So I was like, let me hurry and get my interview with my king. It's
Nah, we've been plotting this for a
like,
minute,
yes,
and I appreciate just the everything on the patience level just to have for what we do, because even with you and the things that you got going, to even make room for me. So I appreciate it totally.
yes, King. I appreciate you. So, King, first of all, let's just get into it.
Yeah.
First of all, you play the instrument, you sing, you write, you do it all. You work with major artists. I mean, you the whole 360. Let's just talk about you getting in the entertainment industry and staying true to who you are and being that legendary, that one that's just different and bold and just different and it's a beautiful different. So let's talk about like how did you get into the entertainment industry? What made you stand out? Because when you say law, you talking about everything. You're not just talking about one specific thing. Like this man does everything. And he's good at everything. So like let's just talk about how you started, King.
Okay, well, I mean, at first, as most fans may not know, I come from a pretty famous musical family. My legendary grandfather, Sam Bluesman Taylor, known for his work with Etta James, BT Express, and then later on in the hip hop era for his music to get sampled by DMX and Jay Z. So, my granddad's a big deal. He's the first rock star of the family. He's no longer with us, but of course, my mother, Sandra Taylor, one of the most sought after session singers, first place winner at the legendary Apollo Theater, along with my legendary uncle Bobby Taylor, who's in heaven as well, 13-time winner. And then if you were an 80s baby that loved R&B, then you probably know my cousin Cheryl Pepsi Riley,
Yes.
who's known for her big record, Thanks for My Child, not to mention all the Tyler Perry things that she's done over the years, and as well as running a successful open mic thing in New York City, being one of the staple singers of that particular era in New York City local scene and abroad. But I come from it, so I got it honestly. I come
Yeah.
from a thing where I was born into it. I wasn't forced into it, but I was born into it. So either way, besides my love for boxing and football and wanting to be a lawyer, if I never ever, if I didn't do music, those would be my attributes. But
Wow.
the music just spoke to me louder than everything else. So I pretty much got started. Of course, singing before I could really talk, trying to mimic everybody, and then started beating on everything. So my mother was like, "Okay, we need to get this kid some drums," and started banging on that. Got pretty good, and then my two cousins, Rudy and Rashid, they got even better than me because their father, my legendary uncle Rudy Worrell, taught them. So I'm like,
Right.
okay, I'm gonna keep playing drums, but y'all got it mastered because look who your dad is. Start playing guitar. Next thing you know, it developed into 6 different instruments at a time as I got older, learning bass, keyboards, different things of that nature. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So King, so tell me, what was your process in navigating into the entertainment industry and becoming your own person, standing out? How did that come about?
That comes with trial and error. I think every artist that comes to the game, no matter what genre it is, it could be jazz, it could be pop, it could be rock and roll. If you look at all, let's take a look at all of the great artists who are still here and those that are left, and then you put them all in one lineup, you can tell each of them apart. So for me, the way I got into it was the people who I love the most, I took bits and pieces from each of my favorite artists. You know, I'm a diehard Kiss fan, so of course, me being a rock and roll heavy metal guy, Kiss, Motley Crue, you know, Van Halen, AC/DC, I was in all that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and of course, my roots being, of course, R&B, funk, and then early rock and roll and blues because of my grandfather, Albert King. You know, B.B. King used to be at our house. I'm talking about for real. So like B.B. King used to be at our actual house, hanging out with granddad. So it made it easy for me. So all this stuff, and then of course, my legendary uncle Tony T. Funk Austin, who played with James Brown and Kool and the Gang, there's the funk right there. You know, funk was everywhere at that point. You know, so my thing is, then I got my mother and my grandmother, which is straight up gospel and female diva stuff. So 1 minute is Tremaine Hawkins, the next minute is Chaka Khan. So all that stuff is being surrounded in my circumference. Then you got my older sister Neffy, who didn't sing, but Neffy had some of the most illest taste in music because she loved reggae music because she dated nothing but West Indian guys. And slash that, she's a new wave head. So of course, Devo, the Go-Go's, Flock of Seagulls, all that stuff that came out in the 80s. So for me, there's the weird part of everything. And last but not least, of course, without question, hip hop. So my older brother, Casino Chip, the revered big brother. So of course, everything street involved, we was into. So when the Message came out, when Super Rapping came out, and then of course Fat Boys, Run DMC, Cold Crush Brothers, then the golden era with Big Daddy Kane and Kool G Rap and LL, we were surrounded. So that gave me a whole, this is all before I turned 12 years old. So you got to remember, from the
you started so early.
From the ages of 5 all the way to 12, this was my musical smorgasbord. I got into all of it. So for me, it was easy for me to identify a character because you got to think about it. You know, I'm from the hood. I'm from Brooklyn, Crown Heights, St. Mark's Avenue, you know what I mean? Albany Projects. And the thing is that in that era, you only had 2 kinds of music that most of your peers listened to. But because of my family daring to be different and because my family was my Juilliard for music, it helped for me to find my identity in my place. Even before I turned 12, I'm like, okay, Laura, what are you? Okay, I'm this eccentric, weird, but still hood as fuck kid.
Right.
You know, that have these different musical tastes, plus my love for science fiction and comic books and cartoons and things of the pop culture nature, it pretty much ruled my world. And then my mother's a former Black Panther, so there's a natural part of who I am in terms of being a righteous young Black man, learning more about his culture every day. And thanks to Public Enemy, I learned more about my Black history from a Public Enemy record than I ever did in school. So, see what I mean? So there's that whole mixture of everything who I became. So it's like, I'm part revolutionary, definitely militant, still hood as fuck, weird and eccentric because I love different things that other people probably won't get into. I accepted who I was. So on a musical level, it became this. I'm kind of telling you how Planet Soul got created. So on one side of the fence, my mother's friends, you know, your aunties and everything. I love when you sing, man. I can't give it all that rapping stuff. That's a bunch of noise. You know, a lot of older Black people didn't like hip hop music. So it was like, I love when you sing that OJs. Like my aunt's favorite band was the OJs. So she would always have me sing, "Got to give the people." Yo, because I try to mimic Eddie Levert. So she had me do that. So they're pulling me in one direction, and then my peers are pulling me. because I'm making a name for myself as a rapper and a breakdancer. I sang in church. Everybody knew I went to church. You know, we all went to church. I'm Baptist Pentecostal. So I sang in church, sang on the choir, was featured soloist, the whole bit, and I'm singing in clubs with my mother at the age of 7 to 8 years old. I'm in the club singing with my mother. So now I get to this rap thing, so I'm trying to add my rap skill to this thing now. So, of course, for us kids who are into hip-hop, because it's a street movement, and we like, man, fuck what your older folks think. Not everybody, but just more so like that whole, this is our shit. We finally got some shit that we can claim. That's what made hip-hop so special, because it's derived from the inner city youth, and we from the street. So they like, yeah, Lord, you be kicking them lines and them dances you be doing, but you know, that singing, we ain't really into that singing. Because, you know, most hip-hop guys, unless you was the Force MDs, people wasn't really checking for the guy who could sing and rap until a little bit later.
Right.
You know what I mean? That came about probably around the time with Queen Latifah, Brenda K. Starr, and definitely Lauryn Hill. And Biz Markie, though he couldn't sing to save his life, but Biz Markie gave you courage.
Right.
You understand? It's almost like you couldn't sing, you could sing, but you say he's just a friend. Right. So I'm stuck in these two worlds like this.
Yeah.
Sing, do I rap? Do I do R&B soul? Do I play rock and roll? Do I do hip hop? Do I do jazz? And then one day, I just decided, fuck that shit. I'm doing all of it.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I was 12 years old, and they always be like, Lord be on his own planet. Carl Sagan's my favorite writer, and I'm definitely I'm a Star Trek guy, and I'm a Star Wars guy too. So I'm like, there's 12 notes in music. I'm 12 years old at the time. L's the 12th letter in the alphabet. And of course, that's, you know, my name, Law. You're on to something. And that's how Planet Soul was created. And that is when I officially established my musical identity of who I was.
Wow. King, oh my God. Yes, King, yes. I mean, it's amazing how you have all this inside you, and you had all that guidance, and you just what I love is you just did it all. You know how some people, they limit themselves. You didn't limit yourself. Well, and that's so important to reach your full potential.
Absolutely.
That's very important.
And two key components to that that helped me find my way in that even more. I have a lot of heroes. A lot of my fans know, and you see my, I have a lot of musical heroes.
Yeah. And you have a lot of fans.
And
a lot of fans. Like you hear a lot of the I know Law. Let me tell you about Law. You have a lot.
And the two main ones that helped me to aim for that, Prince and Stevie Wonder. Yes. You know why? Because Prince and Stevie didn't limit themselves. Now it's pretty obvious that funk and R&B, because of who they are as black men, became a calling card.
Right.
But what I love about both of those guys, remember, Stevie Wonder is Prince's hero. For those that forgot. And why? Think about it. Because Stevie didn't limit himself. He's from the hood. He's from Detroit. Stevie is that prodigy that wanted to play classical and jazz. That's why if you listen to Stevie Wonder songs, they all have a different thing to it. Ribbon in the Sky sounds like, at the very end of Ribbon in the Sky, after he's done doing all his singing, it sounds like cocktail music at a jazz bar. Just him.
It does. Right.
Tapping the keys.
Right.
Then you got a song like Village Ghetto Land, where it's just nothing but strings. There's no bass, there's no keyboard, there's no drums. It's just violins and strings. Then you got Pastime Paradise. Well, to the 90s kids, that's Gangsta's Paradise, but the original is Pastime Paradise. It's some Hawaiian type of, island vibe, but he's giving a strong message. Prince, same thing. Didn't limit himself musically. He can funk with the best of them, he can rock with the best of them, he can sing with the best of them, he can dance with the best of them. So that's the type of artist that I wanted to be. And I made that decision very early, because the more I started to learn more about why Prince and Stevie were who they were, it was because of that. It was because musical diversity is sexy. I didn't want to be that person that be like, I don't know. I never wanted to be stuck. The Queen Shirley Ralph, we know who she is. She has a slogan that I use very often, and it's stay ready so you never have to get ready. And I literally took that to heart as a 12, 13-year-old kid. I'm playing guitar. My funk chops and my blues chops are great, but I want to play rock and roll.
Right.
So I knew I had to practice, study, practice, rehearse. Because I didn't want to limit myself. I didn't want to be just that guy. Yeah, I rap good, but the way Kool G rap and KRS-One and those guys and Rakim is rhyming, I got to get better. Now I'm studying my rhyme.
Right.
Then, of course, you got people, you know, Boyz II Men, Jodeci, New Edition, Johnny Gill's a solo artist, Luther Vandross. Now I have to get better as a singer. See what I mean? So this was my daily ritual for the first 15 years that I started. It was constantly learning, but also constantly performing, constantly honing my craft. Even now at this stage and age of the game, even with all that I've accomplished, there's still so much more to accomplish and go ahead. Every day is a study for me.
Absolutely, King. Absolutely. And the good part is how you were still able to stay true to who you are. Just like you just gave me examples. You got Boyz II Men, you got Keith Sweat. It's only one of them, and it's only one law. So it's like you still had to stay true to yourself. People need to understand that in order to stand out, for people to respect you and honor you and respect what your legacy and what you're trying to build, you have to know who you are.
Yeah, and that's important because and I attribute that to my family, the Taylors and the Worrells, because the thing is that sometimes every family has a certain dysfunction, but I will say that my family, even with the little things that were dysfunctional at some point, 95% of the time, I had my complete family support. When you grow up around an older brother who's a revered big brother, I'm number 2 out of the siblings, and then you have cousins that kind of help anchor who you are and don't try to change you. When you have uncles, when you have a mother that speaks into you, that allows you to be. That's why I always tell people, you know, like even when, you know, as most of my fans know, I have 3 grandchildren. The greatest part about watching my grandchildren, I'm watching their personalities develop to see what they're going to get, especially the little one, the one that just spoke. Like, you know, he's already in tune with me, but he's trying to talk. He's only 8 months. He's trying to talk. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying, but you know what? I'm here with you. And I'm waiting to see what this kid is going to do. Meanwhile, my 2 older grandkids who are the ages of 2 and 4, listen, they know what they want to do. They're already playing guitar. The one's already trying to play guitar. They're singing, performing. So it's in them. So I always tell parents, they have younger kids, allow them to be who they are, because you're going to see certain things. And your job as a parent is to invest in that and to harness that. So me being me with permission is because I had a family that invested for me to be that. And a few friends too, because, you know, friends is a little bit harder, because with friends, you know, I didn't succumb to peer pressure. I didn't succumb to the usual shit. And then I'm from a hood where you had to be you. You had to be real, because the thing is that the hood will call you out. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not that guy. That was never him. Like I said, the people that grew up with me, that have been around me, have known me for more than 15, 20, 30 plus years, they can tell you the best law stories, because they can tell you pretty much who I am, what I've done, how I react to things, what kind of a person am I, because these are people that spend probably the most intimate times with me at any situation. And it's not about bragging and trying to make myself look good. It's just more so because a lot of my personality plays into my music and how I developed everything that I did. So I don't think, you know, I came up in an environment where that bullshit wasn't allowed. You can't be fake. That's why take an example, hip hop. Hip hop went through this stage where after a while, there was a lot of guys lying about what they did, who they was with. They sold, they hustled, they sold drugs, they did all this shit. And a lot of those guys were lying. So the thing is, because drugs was never meant, selling drugs and hustling was never meant to be glorified. And trust me, I know the real gangsters. I know the real hustlers. I know the real dudes that did this shit, because they wasn't trying to make records. Except for the ones that, like, the ones that we know on the West Coast, that's a little bit different, because West Coast is a whole different culture by itself. But I can assure you, on the east side of things, and definitely in New York City, you knew who they were. You dig what I'm saying? So a lot of times you had dudes doing a bunch of stupid shit to prove themselves. And then once the record labels got involved, now it becomes a marketing strategy. And that's pretty much what you've been seeing the last 15 years with 6ix9ine and all these other guys. You know, here's the thing. I'm gonna make you laugh. Here's the thing. When hip hop and rap first came out, it was a tool for inner city kids to escape crime and violence. The early rappers that were into hustling, that were real gangsters, they put the guns down and the drugs down to rap on the microphone.
Wow.
Perfect example. Ice-T, who's originally from Jersey. People forget, it's my big brother. Ice-T is from Jersey. He claims the West Coast because when he moved out there, that's where his shit took off at. But he's from Jersey. And he became a Crip because he went to Crenshaw. You go to Crenshaw, it's like, okay, I'm surrounded by all this stuff. And then he came up in a very crazy time. Like his mother died, I think, when he was 9 or 7 or something like. He had no parents, and he stayed with an aunt that didn't care nothing about him. So of course, when he came into gang culture, that became his family. So think about that for a minute with other people who are afraid to be themselves, because after a while, it was like now you got these guys hustling just to impress a girl. They're not hustling to survive. They're hustling because they're thinking that if I get a nice car, or if I have a nice pad, or if I got a bunch of jewels on my finger, the girls are going to like me. And for a while, it seemed that way, because a lot of shallow women, keyword shallow, a lot of shallow women made guys feel like that. I'm writing a book now as we speak about my life, and there's a chapter in it where I talk about the crack epidemic and how it destroyed black relationships forever. Because the thing was that in black relationships, now all of a sudden for the youngins, back in the day, you could tell a girl, hey, I like you. Will you go out with me? Yes or no? Once the crack era came in, if you wasn't looking like you was about something on that level, a lot of girls, not all girls, a lot of girls wouldn't even talk to you. So it destroyed that persona. So by the time like the 90s rolled around, let's say early 2000s, it was the bling era. It was all about, as long as I look like this and I got ice and I'm cool, I got a $2,000 sweat on, I'm gonna attract that. And see, me, I've always been me. And I say this respectfully with no arrogance or conceit. I was one of the most popular kids in my high school. Me and my cousins and my brothers, we were always fly. And the girls actually liked us. So I didn't have to do anything to prove who I was to a female. So I didn't feel compelled to be like, well, maybe if I get me the $500, Gucci. I'm like, man, this chain I got on, I got a cross, everybody like Scorpio now, but I had a cross chain, and it was a 14-karat gold, very simple, only cost me, I had my allowance, I had a job working for my aunt, and I bought it for $275. And people liked it. Everywhere I went, he's like, yo, that chain is nice, that chain is dope. So why the fuck would I buy a $50,000 piece? This is me at 16, mind you. That's me at 16 in high school. Right. So it makes sense to me. You dig what I'm saying? Like, for me to go out and buy a whole bunch of jewelry or to pay $400 for a pair of sneakers, why? Why would I have to do that? To impress you? Fuck out of here. That was my own thing. And I think, honestly, respectfully speaking, I think that my dating credo, when it came to dealing with women, actually became more of a smooth affair, because I think the real women saw me for me. They wasn't trying to get in my pockets. They wasn't trying to let me mess with him because he might, it wasn't any of that. I never felt that type of pressure. So it was easy for me. And meanwhile, it's funny because, interestingly enough, most of the gangsters and the gang members who I grew up with, these are my real friends. They used to come hang out with me. Yeah. So that's the real shit. You know, my friends were broken up into 4 sections: the artsy kids, the nerdy kids, the gangsters and gang members, and the hustlers. And most of them ran my projects, including with different people. So my thing is like, they accept me for me. So if they accept me for me, why would I have to do anything else? It didn't make sense. It did not make sense to me. So when I saw that shit developing in hip hop, as I'm seeing hip hop go through all these different phases and people switching up, and I seen guys who I knew for a fact they tried to get into the music industry. And I'm like, this one kid, I ain't gonna say his name. This one kid that's from my block. He's a red-haired kid. They used to get beat up around my block. They used to beat the shit out of him. All of a sudden, now he's a killer that can't be beat. Wow. Mac 10, the Mac 11. I'm like, We never had no gun growing up. What you talking about?
Right.
My cousin used to beat your ass. What are you talking about? That's what, see what I'm saying? Like, that's, we just, from where I'm from, the era where I'm from, is just, it wasn't accepted. Be you. Even Jay-Z said that. You couldn't talk about it if you didn't live it. That's why when you hear my songs and my music, I'll tell you what I've seen and what I've done. And you'll know it from that point on. Because again, when you grown, you ain't got a reason to lie. When you have a fan base and you got people that love you for you, you don't have to lie. And especially if you have the attention of that, as they say, when it comes to seeking the attention of a woman that I might like, you don't have to lie to kick it. Be who you are. If you be who you are, she may well see that. And the way I was raised, that if she didn't see that, if I had to do all that shit just to put a smile on her face, she ain't the one. I don't want her. And it should be that same way for women too. When it comes to a guy, you ain't got to do all that.
Preach.
You got to do all that to get his attention. He ain't the one.
Preach.
It's called even fair. So anyway, long story short, that was my mindset at 14, 15 years old. So think about that. I wasn't even 21 yet.
Wow.
So I was already, what do they say, wise beyond your years? Because, and look at my family. I hung around, with the exception of some of my friends from high school, and of course all my siblings and my cousins, we hung out with grown people. We were very mature for our ages because we were forced to grow up fast. I remember I was already touring the world at 14. So.
And this is why you have such longevity in it. Because you started so early in it.
Yeah. It's important. I think starting early was a blessing. I think in a lot of ways, not just on a professional level, but on a personal level too, because I think I have no regrets in life. I think things that I've learned coming up as a kid, that's why I always say to this day, I love the fact that I grew up in the fucking grimy ghetto, hood, slum, whatever you want to call it. I'm proud of it. We came up raw because there's certain things in life that you learn that you can apply to a corporate situation, much different from a lot of suburb kids who probably didn't know what that felt like or know what it means. That's why in most situations I relate to a lot of people who grew up the way I grew up, because we all can talk about the same things. You know, we know what it's like to not have no bread in the house and you got to get creative with peanut butter and jelly. You know what I mean? We know what it's like when all you got is a 3-liter Pepsi and you got 9 kids in the house. You know what I'm saying? We know what it's like. You know, a lot of people can't relate to that. So it teaches you so much in value of everything that you could possibly learn, and it prepares you for the next day and the next world. You know what I mean? Because who would have known that our world would change as much as it did when you 12, you know, in the 80s and the 90s? Who would have known? Who would have known? You know what I mean? So the one thing I'm proud of that my family taught me and what the streets taught me is survival. That's the one thing I'm proud of. And to this day, every now and then, look, I still buy canned goods. I cook my own food. I have the luxury of ordering what I want when I want to eat. But guess what? I still got pork and beans right in my cabinet. No bullshit. Right. I still got ramen noodles. I don't play. I still got the Campbell soup. I buy all. When I go food shopping, that's what I buy. Because remember when that Hurricane Sandy thing happened and everything shut out? I had food. See, this is what I'm saying. These are little things that taught me. No matter how grown you get or where you go in life, you can't survive. And I say it all the time, it's a cliche, but it's the truth. If you can survive the hood, you can survive anywhere. So, yeah, it's the truth.
Beautiful, King. I mean, it's so much jewels and knowledge you just dropped, King. So true. So true. So, King, so tell me, what advice would you give somebody that has goals, has dreams, don't have a support team, trying to find themselves, and they believe in themselves, but they still feel like, on the other hand, I feel like giving up. Like, what advice would you give them just to keep going?
That's a 3-way street there. You have to really, really. I can tell you what kept me strong all these years.
Right.
And it's my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Now, I'm not religious. I'm more spiritual. I'm not religious at all. You know, anybody has a right to believe what they want to believe as long as they're not harming kids and raping women and abusing children or women. You have a right to believe what you want to believe. But that's what. And the thing for me is that having an uncle, shout out to my Uncle David, Reverend David Sparks, and having an aunt that poured into me. You know, my Aunt Yoni, you know, I love that woman so much because I remember there was this phase I was going through where a couple of my cousins, who shall remain nameless, you know, they weren't very supportive. They were very, you know, there's a lot of backbiting and a lot of underhand manipulation and them not including me in what they were doing. There's a lot of jealousy involved in that.
Yeah.
And just when I think that nobody knew my pain or what I was dealing with, here comes my Aunt Yoni. She said, come here, Lawrence, let me talk to you for a second. She said, I see how your cousins treat you. And let me tell you something. That's because you're special. You're going to change the world. You have purpose. And you'll see where they end up after a while. And the thing is, she said, I see that stuff you write. I see, what's that, baby, Planet 12? I saw it in your book. I'm like, you saw that? 'Cause I used to do that, kept my shit hidden. He's like, in Habakkuk 4:4 in the Bible, it says, take the vision and write it down and make it plain. As long as you keep believing, don't ever stop believing. Keep your faith, no matter how hard it looks, because you're going to be something. And at that time, and that was when I was 14, I ended up working for my aunt at the school. You know, my aunt ran her own school. So being a teacher, I mean, she told me, she said, baby, this is just a stepping stone. It's a stepping stone. You know why? Because I know for a fact, all it's going to take is for one or two people to get a whiff of your talent. And you're going to be working so much, you're not going to be able to come to class no more. And 2 years later, I joined the corporate gig industry.
Yeah.
While I was still touring, you know what I mean? So the thing is, I've been turned down. I've been rejected by record labels. It's funny because 90% of those record labels that rejected me are no longer here. I'm still here. And I'm thriving. So if I would have gave up when everybody laughed at, and just so we clear, I had more positive support. Just so we clear, I didn't have more positive than negative. But even sometimes, even the smallest amount of negative can still make you look at your shit like, am I doing the right thing? Planet 12. Law's out to lunch, man. He's a weirdo. We'll see how far that goes. Being told I'm too retro, I'm too this. Here's my favorite one. You know, you do so many things, so we can't market you. I'm like, well, y'all found a way to market Prince. The thing is, it got quiet. The record labels hated me because I told the truth. When I come into the meetings, they couldn't corner me with that. Right. They couldn't capture my mind with, well, you know, if we have to market you a different way. I'm like, no. Look at Outkast. Look at Alicia Keys, who I've known since she was 16. Don't tell me it don't work. You gotta remember, when they couldn't convince me otherwise, it stopped. So I began to notice that it wasn't my talent. You know, sometimes you get into your own head and you think, am I doing something wrong? Kind of like, remember that episode from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when Will finally sees his father for the first time since he was a kid? And you know that part when he leaves again, and he said, why, questioning. And he said, why you don't want me? That's how I felt 2 years into shopping my demo around. Because I'm feeling like, hold up a second. Is it me? Am I doing something wrong? And it wasn't until I got in the corporate gig industry and saw everybody who was dope and that were doing pretty much the same thing I was doing, only with a different sort of aspect. D'Angelo, Maxwell, Eric Benet, who else? Outkast, Alicia Keys, The Roots. When I saw that happening, I'm like, I know there's room for me now. They can't tell me nothing different. Right. I realized it wasn't my talent. It took me a minute to realize it wasn't my talent. It was because I knew too fucking much for 16 years old. See, when you know about the business of music, that's scary. So that's part of the advice I'm giving to the people that want to start in this industry now is learn the business, learn the business. At 15, I knew what publishing was thanks to my grandfather. My grandfather was a victim of the industry. He got caught. I have all his gold records here from things that he did for BT Express and for other artists during the 70s. And he would always say, they gave me the gold record, but they took away the gold. So he literally poured everything into me to make sure that I didn't become a victim of the industry. So A&Rs don't want to hear that. They don't want to know that I know about mechanical royalties. They don't want to know that my publisher's like my social security card. I knew too much. So when I finally realized that shit, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make myself a valuable commodity. What does that mean? I'm going to put myself so much out there and go so fucking hard with faith and talent and nothing to stop me that they're not going to ignore me.
Right.
And that's the reason why I have the career that I have now, because I was relentless. I didn't give up. I didn't accept the bullshit, and I found all the alternatives. And of course, thank God for the internet, because it gave a lot of us young guys that were coming up in the industry a home to now showcase our stuff to someone who may want to listen. And if nobody listens, we can still develop our fan base of people who do want to listen. So all those things worked together for me right around late 90s, early 2000s, definitely in the mid 2000s more so, because then by that point, I was already working with, you know, the legendary, my sister in heaven, Amy Winehouse, and, you know, Shaka Khan and Freddie Jackson and Dionne Warwick and Tony Bennett. So I was already stacking production credits with George Clinton, and my resume was getting more bigger by the second. But I was still hustling and just making sure that people always knew Planet 12 was a brand. Because if I didn't do any of that shit, all that work I've been doing has been vain. So I say this to anybody who wants to get into the business, to keep going, not just be relentless to learn the business, but the most important thing, you got to have a strong spirit. And the reason why I say this shit is because patience requires a strong spirit. I tell people all the time, if you don't have the ability to train your spirit to be strong or to learn from other people that have strong spirit, stay home, get a regular 9 to 5, and sing karaoke. And have no plans to conquer the world. Now, I'm being sarcastic when I say that, but I'm also being truthful, because you ain't ready. I've seen artists who I worked with lose their mind. They go through stuff, especially, that's why I'm very keen on female artists, because female artists have it the worst in this business. The misogyny, the way that, especially black female, you know what I mean? Because the way they're being treated, you know, you come there to work, the producer wants to sleep with you.
Come on, Keith.
You know, people don't understand. Listen,
you don't speak.
You gotta remember, I got daughters, so I'm sensitive about shit like this. And I can truthfully say that anything that happened of a sensual, sexual nature in my coming up in the industry, it was because it was consenting grown folks, not because I tried to use my industry credos and be like, yeah, I'm like, you know, that sort of shit. Because when I saw what was going, I saw that very early in my career with a lot of guys. I saw that with them, and I realized I never wanted to be that guy. So for me, it became a whole thing of creating a safe haven for if I ever work with any female artist, they know that they're protected, they're safe. I'm not trying to hit up on them or none of that type of shit. So that's the reason why I'm very keen on making sure that the training of the first thing I even ask a female artist when I work with her, first thing I ask them, okay, do you have a boyfriend? Now, the reason why I'm asking you, because as young as, especially if they're like between 18 and let's say 30, because the first thing I say to them, what kind of a boyfriend is he? Because if you're dealing with the jealous type, it's not going to work. Because now, mind you, you're coming here to record with me and we're working. We're doing actual work. He's probably thinking something else. And if you're gorgeous, like most women are, if you're gorgeous, that's his insecurity. So now you can't even forge a career because you're trying to please him. These are things that we talk about because, first of all, they make a good song. Let's keep that on. I'm gonna keep that. Make good songs, but also as a songwriter, that helps me. But also because they don't teach you these things in the industry. See, I learned that by watching. So I realized if I ever became somebody who had to guide somebody's career, whether as a producer, songwriter, label, whatever, it's about educating your artists that don't know, especially female artists, because a lot of female artists don't even know about publishing. They don't know about owning their masters. You know what I'm saying? So this is stuff that I learned at an early age. So I never cared if I had the bigger part of everything else, because I got friends that made, I can name about 15 people who, if I said the names in this chat room, they would know who these artists are in the hip hop world, R&B world. I seen them here, and I seen them here. And it wasn't necessarily because they fell off. Oh, they fell off. What happened? I said, no. I used to think that too, until I learned the business for myself. I learned the business, I started going back to some of these same artist stories, and I realized it ain't always the artist falling off. It's because they had to deal with a record label that had a contract that they didn't bother to read themselves, or get a lawyer or hire a lawyer to read their contract. All they saw was this. And especially for young black kids from the hood, dangled $20,000 or $100,000 in a young nigga's face. Unless he has education and self-esteem, what do you think he's going to do? He's going to take that. That's the most money he's probably ever seen in his life, and especially if he comes from a broken home or a family that he has to feed, or a single mother. See, these are things that we don't talk about. So that's why I say a strong spirit is required, because if you don't have a strong spirit, you will do anything for money. You will do anything for fame. And that's why you see, like, look. That's why we have all these little babies, the baby, her baby, your baby. It's a bunch of these different rappers. They all look and sound the same. And then notice, and with all due respect, I like a few of them, but with all due respect, that's why the music is the way it is now, because all the labels are doing is capitalizing. Meanwhile, every other week, there's a young rapper that ends up dead over a beef that never got settled. These are things we don't talk about. And people always like, oh, they're like, free the bro, free the man, fuck free the bro. I want to hear his music. What did he do? Because the first thing I do when I hear about somebody getting locked up or that got killed, of course, it's sad. Of course, I don't want to see nobody get killed. Yeah. But you know the phrase, you live by the gun, you die by the gun. And then words are power. So the first thing I do when I hear about a young person that got killed, the first thing I do, I go to their music. Let me hear what you're talking about. I gotta kill the ops. I gotta shoot them. See? All I hear, and then I see the video, him and his boys. Right. Guns, and I'm tatted. Oh, he blood, he crip. And half of these kids are from the ages of 15 to, let's say, 25. And I'm sitting here saying to myself, if they can even make it past it. I mean, the one about the two things that did me in was Young Dolph and Pop Smoke. Yeah. And the thing is that the energy of they were talented, but look at the energy of the words and the frequency that they were on when they were writing these songs. It attracts energy. I'm from the streets. But I can go anywhere I want. Why? Because my energy doesn't attract that. I have friends who are gang members. I got friends who are still in where they at. But me knowing the code of what it is, and me being who I am, a certified street dude. But at the same time, I'm me. And again, that's why I told you earlier, there's certain things that I can talk about that the hood wouldn't accept from me. Because they know me. But understand why is that? Because I've always been that dude. It's a difference. When you that dude, you don't have to do that. But this generation doesn't learn that. So again, I say, strong spirit is required. If you want to survive, not just in this business either, but in any business, strong spirit. Otherwise, you're going to get broken very easily. Anything somebody say to you is like, I give up. They don't like me. Then you start feeling doubt. You start feeling worthless. You start feeling like you can't do this shit. If I would have listened to what everybody told me when I started playing 12, I wouldn't be sitting here before you now with over probably 100 credits at this point of people who I worked with and got shows booked in the next 2 years. You know what I mean? It's a blessing because I chose not to give up. I chose to keep my spirit strong and my mind safe because mental health is a real thing too.
Beautiful King, beautiful King. King, I just want to let you know, I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart because you're so legendary. You're so humble. You're so sweet. You're so dope. And I want you to continue being you. Continue to be an inspiration. Continue to touch lives and just continue to bless on people, love on people, and just continue to be you like you're doing. Because you are making a difference. That's all. Every day you go out on that road, you give your all, you let people know, and you just go hard and you do what you do. You're giving us hope. You're giving us all hope that, hey, tomorrow it's always a better day. Good things are still ahead, because it's so much going on in this world. So we need, and I appreciate people like you that are still here today that's giving us hope and inspiration. It means a lot. It really does.
Wow. Thank you for those flowers. I appreciate that. You know, when I hear legendary, I'm just, you know, I laugh sometimes because, you know, again, I still have so much to accomplish. And the things that I have done that are considered to be legendary, I take that pat on the back. So I take that only because of the fact that I put in the work to accomplish those things. That's it. Nothing else. There's just a lot of people that walk around and they haven't really accomplished anything. So
exactly.
I really, so I take that with all signs given and all praises due, of course, to my Lord and Savior for allowing me to be who I am, for protecting me, for keeping my spirit sane and my mental sane, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do it. I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And the other philosophy I wrote with too is I'm very humble, but there's also a flip side to that. I always tell people, be humble, but never be too humble when you're underpaid. When I came up in this industry, I was extremely nice, humble. Yes, okay, yeah, very good. And then I learned that it got me no fucking place. So being a man about my business and being solid about my word on principles and codes and ethics and different things that I feel a man should be, and especially an artist, I knew somebody's going to get it. That's why for so long on social media, you know, all I kept hearing was, who do you think he is? Oh, Sound came to biz, whatever. You know, he thinks he's all that. He's always posting. He's always self-promoting. He's always hashtag. He's always doing this. You damn fucking right.
Right.
You better believe I am. Because guess what? Otherwise, those other people wouldn't know who I am. And it's not even so much about know who I am. I blocked out the noise. Because I realized ain't nobody going to do a thing for me except for me and the people who are willing to support what I'm doing. So being humble and all those things, yeah, I am. But at the same time, I'm also very confident in who I am, what I've done, what I'm still doing, and what I'm going to be doing more of, as past, present, future, in case you missed it. I can't lose. And guess what? I'm not the only one. You have that ability too. Everybody has that ability. If you just keep walking in it, because people are going to talk. People are going to talk no matter what. When you get to a level of your life and you get to a certain age, you got to look back at your life, because there's a lot of people in my family that had talents and never did anything with them. Because they were too encompassed by what would T-Bone think?
Right.
What would so-and-so think? You know what I'm saying? Just imagine if Biggie would have listened to his boys when Diddy came in with that Entombed sample. Y'all saw the movie, but that was a true story. When he came in with the sample, he played that Juicy Fruit beat, and, you know, Lil C's and all of them was laughing, and Biggie was like, this dude's like Rick James. He's like, man, if I do this shit, the hood gonna laugh at me. And Diddy was like, and if you don't do this shit, you're gonna be just another mixtape rapper. So thank God that Biggie was headstrong enough to listen to what Diddy was telling him. And Diddy was right, because that's the song that pretty much made him who he is. And I promise you, when I do these corporate gigs, it amazes me. There's mostly a lot of Jewish people when I do these shows. When I do, and as soon as I start the line, it was all a dream. They know all the fucking words. Me being from Brooklyn and me being from Bed-Stuy, Crown Heights, and the fact that I know members of Junior Mafia personally, they used to be at our school hanging out before they became famous. You know how that makes me feel to see these other folks that didn't grow up the way I grew up, but they know all the fucking words to the song? I smile with pride, and I wear my Brooklyn hat like, who would have ever thought I'm here at what should be a normal, your typical wedding or bar mitzvah, and here I am, I get to be totally me with a Brooklyn hat on, spitting rhymes by one of my heroes, and I get to be myself. That's important. So I just think that a lot of people need to know how to tap into their vision of who they are and what they do. Be relentless in. That's why I'm speaking that to you and everybody else that's in the chat room that might have struggled with any of that. Because if you don't start living life and living your purpose, and you got to stop giving a fuck about what people think. That was me at 14. I didn't give a fuck what people thought. When I finally gained that confidence, which I already naturally had, and I guess it's a Scorpio in me. When I finally gained that shit, you couldn't tell me nothing. I didn't care what people think. So imagine me at the last 20, 30 years of my life. I come on to social media and people saying all kind of shit about me.
Right.
I don't give a fuck because they won't say it to my face if they're smart. Number
Right.
one. And number two, that's a projection of their insecurity because they're not living.
But they want,
they're not doing what they want.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have a very boring ass life where they just work and come home.
Right.
And guess what? For some people, that may be the
Right.
shit. But that's them. That couldn't have been me. And that couldn't have been you either. Like, so some people live vicariously to you because they figure they don't have that. People get very jealous in a lot of different ways about things that we do because it's based upon their perception of what they're not doing for themselves. So
yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. We can talk forever and forever. I got to book another interview with you. So,
hey,
let me know. Thank you so much for talking with me today. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. I'm just so glad we made it happen. It took a minute for us to happen because our schedules are crazy and everything like that.
I appreciate you so much. And what you said today was just so true. Just be yourself. Be bold. Do what you're called to do because all of us have purpose. We just got to find it. And it's up to us if we decide to choose to pursue that purpose. And I love how you said how people look back on their lives and they say, dang, I should have did this. I should have did that. I was so worried about people judging and all that. People going to always talk whether you're doing good or bad. Yeah. So why you just won't get up and just do it? Just go.
I didn't want to be, and then mind you, I didn't want to be, you know, I call it the, respectfully, I call it the janitor theory. Now, just to be clear, before I give you the janitor theory, not to dispel janitors. Thank God for janitors. There are some people that grow up wanting to actually be that. The common working man and woman. I tell people all the time, if you have a day job, that's an amazing thing. People who are living their dream be like, I'm tired of my day. I said, no, I get it. But guess what? Until your gift starts making room and money for you, continue at that day job, pay your bills, get your rent, stack your paper. However, invest time and make time to invest in your dream and your vision. That's where people fall short at because we get so wrapped up in working a 9 to 5 and slaving ourselves, and then we're not doing things that we want to do in life. You know what I'm saying? So the janitor theory is because I never wanted to be that guy. This is the kind of janitor I'm talking about. I used to be the so-and-so. Man, I was the man back then, and I had a chance to go play ball overseas, and you don't want to be that guy. It's like an episode of, remember the episode of Martin when Gina went to New York City because he knew how to propose her? And the one guy that was left, the older guy, what he said, he's like, well, what's holding you back from marriage? He said, well, you know, I ain't set yet, I ain't got that. He said, you know, I thought that same way until until I finally got everything I wanted and I let my woman go, and now I got all this shit, I got nobody to share with. He's like, what you trying to say? He said, what I'm trying to say to you is that old fools was once young fools. Now, he wasn't calling him a fool, but it was more so like, you're not thinking. It's like you had all that time to pass you by to do things with your career and your life, and people gave up on, especially a lot of women. A lot of women gave up on their dreams to be a housewife and support. And mind you, nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you notice, there's a lot of women of all colors that have been reaching and living their dreams, becoming successful entrepreneurs. I love it. Every time I see an entrepreneur of any caliber, especially when it comes to our black women, because of course, because of what we had to endure for all those years. So when I see any entrepreneur of a black woman doing something, and she got kids or whatever, and she's killing the game, doing shit, I love it. I support it. I'll be like 1,000 times. Hell yeah, because it's showing the next generation, this generation, it is possible. It can be done. You don't have to limit yourself. Yeah, you may be at your day job for now. It's temporary. It's temporary. But you have to speak that and you have to believe it. So that's the reason why when we say these things, it's important. So I'm glad that, you know, you're able to get it. Hopefully people who are in here with us, that came into this interview with us today in the chat room, they get that too. Because every time I post, it's to inspire. It's never to just supposed to be like, hey, look what I did. You know, that's part of it too. But of course, I'm supposed to,
Right.
whether big or small, celebrate every accomplishment, personal or professional. Because there are people right now who are 6 feet under that never had a chance to live life. There's somebody at home right now that wish they would have took that opportunity to get their passport and travel to go see the world. You know what I mean? So one of my fans, he's like my little brother. When he got his passport, he hit me up. He's like, yo, man, thank you for the inspiration. I remember that post you talking about your packet. I was telling people, I said, I don't even talk to people that don't have passports. I don't. Now, mind you, I'm not knocking anybody. What I'm saying is that statement I said, because my thing is that at some point in life, make a move. Do something. Do something that's going to expand your horizon spiritually, mentally, and even physically for that matter. You know, and I know I'm saying it to put more on it because I want people to understand that that's how real it is. I was traveling the world at 13, 14 years old. I still got people in my hood that never left. Not only my mother's friends, I'm talking about even my friends from my age group. You know what I'm saying? That never left the hood. That never did nothing else besides just go work, come home, I'm here. Now, again, if that's the life that you love and you're good with that, this message does not apply to you. But for people who always wanted more in life and want to do things in life, and it's never too late. That's the beautiful thing about life. It's never too late. But you have to make the move. And if you don't make the move, then you can't complain. Everybody want to blame, because our government failed us. I say, yeah, your government failed you. I never rely on the government.
Right.
You know what I mean? I said, I'm militant, so picture me relying on the government. One of the songs of my new album coming out, which is coming out in June, I have a song called Politicians Are Not God. That talks about all that shit. That's the problem. American people worship presidents like they're gods. That's where y'all fucking up at. And especially they don't even run the country. Congress does.
Right.
That's not an opinion. That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? It's not an opinion. That's a fact. So when you sit on social media going back and forth with people about, yeah, I'm right, I'm for the people, it hasn't gotten us anywhere.
Yep.
So that's why I tell people, I survived the Bush era, survived Reagan, and thank God we survived Trump. You can't tell me shit about what to do in my life and to achieve. I don't need a senator to help me achieve my goals. Respectfully speaking. If that's what you do, then great. But I don't need that. So everybody has to start thinking that way. When people start thinking that way, then we can advance. Then we can get into different things. And it'll open up a whole world for you that you wouldn't even know. You know, but until you start making moves and until you get up off your ass, until you start doing shit, you're never, ever, Chris Tucker, going to know. So,
absolutely, King. All. Absolutely. Yeah. You're so right, King. So right. So, King, I just want to let you know I love you.
Love you more.
You have beautiful, safe trips back back home. Please be safe out there. Continue to do what you love doing. And just thank you. Just thank you for your presence. Thank you for your time. Just thank you. So thank you for talking with me today, King. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And of course, whenever you want to schedule the next one, I'm here. So between everything else I'm doing, we'll get another date in otherwise. And shout out to everybody that came in and joined us.
Thank you. Thank you, beautiful kings and queens. Thank you for coming in. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'll speak to you soon and shout out to everybody. I love y'all.
Love you. All right. Love y'all.
Right. See you later.
In.
All right.